I have read 12 books in the first half of the month of October. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny. This is Jenny Reads Maybe, where maybe I read or maybe I don't. For today's video, I'm going to do my mid-month wrap-up. And basically what that is I will go into detail and wrap up all the books that I read in the first half of the month of October. So it is the 15th as I'm filming this. I'm sure I'm gonna finish at least one book today, and if not, that's okay. But I have read 12 books in the first half of the month of October so far. And just kind of some quick stats. I had 1 5-star read, 6 4.5 stars, 2 4 stars, 2 3.5 stars, and 1 3-star. So I did read a good chunk of books that were on my TBR. I read a lot of arcs. But to kind of just kick this off, let's start with the first one. And the first one that I read was Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. I don't know how to pronounce that last name, I'm sorry. And this is one of my 3.5 stars. This book follows a sunshiny character who falls in love with a villain. And it all sort of started as a TikTok sensation of the author had a TikTok that was basically imagine if this sunshiny person was an assistant to the villain. And I had kind of been following along with this since it was first kind of conceptualized on TikTok. So I sort of had a different expectation, I guess, going into it than I guess what it was. I was really convinced that it was going to be a lot more romance heavy, but after realizing that it is supposed to be, I think, a trilogy, it made sense why it wasn't as romance heavy. But I definitely would say it's a very I think cozy fantasy, and I almost want to say fairy tale-esque, because I feel like it very much has the vibe of a once upon a time story. And I'm not gonna say it was bad. I did enjoy it by the end. I think there wasn't a lot that was happening until the last 10 chapters, but after the end I'm definitely going to pick up the second book because of where the first book leaves off. And yeah, I liked it, and that's kind of it. It's not super memorable, but that is my thoughts. The next book I read was Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. This is the third book in her Bright Falls trilogy, and it's one that I've kind of been, I think, awaiting since the beginning, just because Iris Kelly is very much okay with hooking up. She isn't necessarily interested in romance, and she's gone through a lot since the first book, when her original partner left her because he wanted marriage and a family, and Iris Kelly doesn't want that. This is it was good. I gave it 4 stars. It's not my favorite in the series. It was long, but honestly I think it would have benefited from just a little bit more at the end, because I really wanted to see a glimpse at Iris Kelly and Stevie in their own life, and not necessarily in the wedding that is occurring in the epilogue. But I really loved Ashley Herring Blake's voice in this, and also just I think it was really well done in talking about what if you don't want to get married? What if you don't want 2.5 kids? What if you don't want all that typical end of romance epilogue stuff? And that's very much Iris. And yeah, I think this was fun. It was fake dating as well as sex lessons, so I would definitely kind of recommend if you're into that. It was a bit slow burn, but I think it really benefited the story. And yeah, so I did like this, but not my favorite in the series. Then I read Madam, and this is my only 5-star read for the first half of the month. And this is by Sarah Kate. I read it as an ARC, which I was super grateful to the author agency for sending my way. I love Sarah Kate. I love the Salacious Players Club. I love her like Good Brothers series so far. I am always like in awe of her ability to explore such hard like topics in romance while also adding in that bit of like kink exploration, as well as just like, I guess, knowledge of kink. And so I think like this is probably one of my favorites. Again, I gave it 5 stars. Madam Kink is like a character whose story I've been waiting for since the beginning, because she's been involved in everybody else's like romance and has like a role in each of them, but hasn't gotten her own until now. And this was an MFF relationship, which I was really glad, because I think that it was handled so well, and I loved like Jade and Clay's dynamic, and when they all came together, it was just really beautiful, and I really enjoyed this. I will say that I think my favorite of the series is still Eyes on Me, but this was so good. And yeah, I love the dynamics again, as I said, and like it was just so good. I definitely recommend this series, and I'm sad to see it end, but also really happy for what is in store for Sarah Kate after this. So then my next book was For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, and this is a fantasy. It's more fantasy than romance, and it's definitely like a really big like fantasy heavy world. Again, it was kind of giving the like fairy tale-esque setting, but I gave this one 4.5 stars. I love Hannah Witten's writing. I find that her prose is so beautiful, and I think that there are so many moments in the story when I'm like underlining it and annotating it, and like I think this is one of the only books I annotated this month, and I think they stick with me so much longer because of the writing. I previously read her first book in the other series, which is The Foxglove King, and I really love that one. So I wanted to go back and read this. This has been a book that I've wanted to read since it came out years ago, but just hadn't gotten around to it. And I loved it. It was a great debut. And I just loved like the atmosphere. It was very gothic, and I loved the like forest and the exploration of like religion, because I feel like Hannah Witten does that really right, like the exploration of religion in terms of like the world building and what happens when like religion has been hiding something for so long from the people. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to reading the second, because this one ended on a like it was a cliffhanger, and I think that like I'm very excited to see where it goes. Then I read The Wildest Ride by Marcella Bell, and this is a cowboy romance, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I loved this. This follows AJ Garza and Lillian Sorrow, and this is a reality TV competition meets closed circuit rodeo, and they are both competitors in this rodeo. And I just loved it. I loved the representation. There is I think a Black Indigenous character, which is Lillian Sorrow, and then AJ Garza is a Black like Latin character, and I loved it. And the competition was so good. I find that a lot of the times in like cowboy romances with rodeo, there's very much like a outsider look at the rodeo, like you're watching it as it's happening. But this one was like the competitors, and I feel like the research and the knowledge and everything that was happening, I was like, I'm learning so much while also like getting to see all this like cool like events. And let me tell you, AJ Garza is the man. He is like just the right amount of like southern drawl meets like competition, and he is such a supporter of Lily and Sorrow from the beginning. And he, like, I just really love this. I can't wait to read the second one. I'm definitely interested in it, and it was just beautiful, fun, definitely like a rivals to lovers, but with like a like secret behind the scenes romance. And yeah, really enjoyed this. Looking forward to the second. Then I read, or technically reread, Not So Lucky by Trilina Pucci, and this is, I read it on audio this time because I was given an audio like ALC and got to listen to this. It was supposed to come out months ago, but Amazon just didn't like approve it for a long time. So I was happy to kind of reread this. I read it right around when it first came out, sometime in, I think it was like July. And basically it is a drunk married in Vegas like romance between a football player and like a hairstylist, and they meet, they drunkenly like get married, and then they hook up that night to consummate their marriage, and he shares her with two of his friends. This was really fun again, and it is a 4.5 star for me. And the audio, let me tell y'all, that was absolute filth. That was filth. I was like, whoa. And I remember reading it the first time and like on Kindle, and it was like, whoa, like this is hot. But the audio, y'all, that took it above and beyond. And it was like a full cast of characters, and I really enjoyed it. It was super fun. And I'm looking forward to reading the next one in this series. It's the Holiday series. And the next one has his two friends, TJ and Nate, and they're gonna fall in love with somebody. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and it was hot. It was filthy, and Trilina Pucci knows what she's doing. Then I read Good Game by Madison Fox, which is her debut romance. I gave this 4.5 stars. I thought it was so phenomenal for a debut. And it follows Alexander, who is a part of this group called The System, which is a like masked secret identity like video game streamer, and it's him and his two best friends, and they're super popular streamers, and they are at a like streaming award ceremony where he meets Stevie. Apparently I read 2 books with Stevie's this month, but Stevie is a rich girl. She's an artist, and she's just working as like a bartender so she can be there with her friend. And they have a steamy hookup in the like in a back room while he's masked. So she doesn't know who he is. He is right at that moment. Oh my gosh, what was his name in, I forget his masked character name, but then he meets her out and about without his mask on, and she doesn't know it's him, but she starts falling for Alexander himself, and then eventually like finds out that it's him. It was so fun and just so good. I feel like it was like really well done as far as like the video games and the streamers. I love their relationship. I love the spice. Like it was just great. It felt so real, and I can't wait for the next book, which is going to be about his friend Parker. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Then I read 'Tis the Damn Season by Kimmy Freeman. This was my lowest rated book of the month so far, and it was the one that I gave 3 stars. I have a lot of feelings on this book, and I think it goes back to the fact that the author of this book, when she came up with the idea and wrote it, was between the ages of 14 and 15. And I'm not saying that like teenagers can't write great, emotionally like well done stories, but I think that because it follows the storyline of 'Tis the Damn Season by Taylor Swift, and I think there's a lack of nuance in the story that really kind of follows the song. And it follows Aspen Moore, who is returning home to her small town after her career in Hollywood kind of goes up in flames for a lot of reasons. And she is in her hometown. She's going to hang out with Roman Torres, who is her first love. And it was kind of messy. I was not the biggest fan of Roman. I think that, like, as far as high school Roman goes, like, I thought he was really well done. I liked him then. But when he became an adult, I didn't like the vibes. And I think that he was constantly kind of putting down her career. And just, it wasn't my favorite again. I gave it 3 stars. It was a really readable book. Like, I found, like, once you started it, it was easy to keep wanting to read. It just wasn't my favorite. And that's kind of all my thoughts on that. Then I read Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen, and I gave this one 4 stars. It was very fun. It follows our main character, Olivia, who is taking over her family business of it's a matchmaking company, and it's based all on the Chinese zodiac. And the only problem is that Bennett is the owner of an up-and-coming dating app that is also based on the Chinese zodiac, and they enter into a bet to see who can set who up on a date that will end up with them falling in love. This was super fun. It was just like a really great time. It was very slow burn, and it is a closed door romance, which I don't mind. I think it really worked for them. And Bennett, I think Bennett is coming like one of my favorite like book boyfriends of the month so far, because even when he was very like based on numbers and science, and like he had a bunch of historical fun facts, like, he was just a very like kind of stick in the mud character. He did what needed to be done. He had feelings from her from the start, and there's a moment towards the end that just solidified like how much he cared for Olivia. But yeah, this was a 4-star read. I really enjoyed it. I really want to read her next one, which is I think The Red String Theory, and yeah, I definitely recommend. Then I read an arc of Trick Shot by Kayla Gross, and this is just a steamy little novella that takes place during Christmas time, and this got me in the mood for Christmas. I had so much fun reading this. I gave it 4.5 stars. And yeah, I think it was such an easy read. It was a very short, it was a novella, obviously. And normally my problem with novellas is the very insta love nature, but this one felt right to me, especially, so it's an MMF, and I felt like the aspect of it, like their feelings coming out, it was just so beautiful. And yeah, basically what happens is Leo McKnight, a twin brother to a famous hockey player, is at the airport, and he is going to fly home to Seattle. And there he meets Riley, who is also flying home to Seattle. Unfortunately, because of snow and weather, their flight is canceled, and when push comes to shove, Leo invites Riley to stay with him and his best friend in his penthouse, and it gets spicy. They hook up all together. It was beautiful. It was fun. It was just great. I love Kayla Gross. I love her writing. I love her like fat representation in her stories. And this one was not just a heroine. This was one of the heroes and the heroine, and just definitely recommend this. Definitely pick this up during Christmas. It comes out on November 1st, and it was just fun. It was a good time. I'm looking forward to reading more by her. Rein Me In by Kayla Gross is one of my like favorite cowboy romances, so yeah, I'm looking forward to more. Then I read Barbarian's Choice by Ruby Dixon. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It's not my favorite in the series, but it was very fun. It follows Farley, who is the last unmated female in the tribe, and she is one of the like alien people on the planet, and what happens is a alien spaceship lands on the planet to get fixed, and she discovers it and finds this guy that is working on the ship and ends up like falling for him, and they resonate, obviously. And I love Ruby Dixon's world. I love the introduction to more outside of the planet now, because we always kind of had this background that there was obviously more out there, but we didn't know what it was or what was happening. And I'm looking forward to kind of following this where it picks up, and the ending of this definitely is leaving it like really open for very interesting things to come. And I really liked Marduk. I think I love a good traumatized male character. Like, they just serve. And yeah, I like this one. It was fun. And I'm looking forward to continuing on in the series. Then I finally finished the Jameson Valley series by Devney Perry. I read The Candle Palace, which I ended up giving 4.5 stars. This is a novella in the Jameson Valley series, and it goes back to a character that has been in the series throughout it, but you never got to see his romance until now. But basically it follows Milo and Sarah, and Sarah is a nurse in Oregon, and no, a nurse in Spokane, Washington. She's a nurse in Spokane, and she works on the like burn unit for the hospital there. And in comes Milo. Milo in the first book is part of an explosion and ends up with really bad burns throughout his body. And he has to spend a long time there. And Sarah is obviously she's a nurse there, and she is having a lot of like struggles with her family, with her mom and her brother, and she finds comfort in Milo and he finds comfort in her, and their relationship sort of develops from this, like, she's just this caretaker to they have feelings for each other. The only problem is it's forbidden because she's his nurse and it's against hospital policy for them to be together. I enjoyed this. It was probably one of my favorite in the story, like in the Jameson Valley series. It was just so good and emotional. I love Devney Perry's writing, and I just love the plots that she comes up with. So this was fun. It was 4.5 stars, and I enjoyed it. I really love this. I can't wait to pick up my next Devney Perry series as I continue in her backlist. And yeah, that's it from my months that is it for all those books that I read in the first half of October. I had such a good reading month so far, and I'm looking forward to reading more. But yeah, stay tuned to hear the thoughts on my later half of the month of October. And yeah, that's it for me today. I will see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.